Hey y'all, and welcome back to my channel, and if you're new here, welcome. I'm Nicole with the Bushel and Peck Designs. Today we are working on another print from the box that I just got recently from NMO, Nicole Merritt Originals. Her vinyl site is now prettycraftyprints.com, but it's all one and the same still. It's still NMO. So I pulled a few glitters of Nicole's that I had on hand, and this green one that I'm using is from the last collab box that I got. It was a collab box between Kathy Johnson from the Rustic Pixie and NMO. So I have been drooling over this print, and I pulled the green came in the box, and then I pulled the gold one, which is the Real World, and then the burgundy one is called Divino, like wine. And then I do pull in Warrior later on. So I know that there's tons of templates out there in the tumbler making world, and I am positive that there's probably one like this, but I didn't want to search. I just had this idea, so I put it together and I went with it. I do have it listed on my website if it is something you want. There is amazing templates. I'm not a huge template user, so I don't really have a lot. So that's why when I had this idea, I just kind of went with it and not sketched it out, but worked it out in my Silhouette Studio software program. And then what I did is I covered my vinyl with transfer paper. It's a trick I learned this year that is so wonderful. So I covered it in transfer paper, and then I cut my template on the vinyl. And then what I'm doing is I then laid out, actually I took the markers so I knew what needed to be removed for glitter and what needed to stay together for the different colors, just so my mind could remember it while it was flat, and then knowing me, I would get it on the tumbler and forget what I was supposed to remove with what. So then I covered it in transfer paper again to apply it to the tumbler, and then I'm going to peel off the transfer tape, the top layer, and then you're left with your template with the vinyl with still a layer of transfer paper on it. I hope that doesn't sound too confusing, but you can see here I am pulling off that top one that we are using to apply the template and the vinyl, but then when I peel it up, you can see it's still kind of got that textury look, and that's because that vinyl or the transfer paper is still on top of that vinyl. So the next thing we're going to do after I have that all applied is we are going to take one section off, and my template has the like crossover. I left it in because you can choose to leave it, you can choose to remove it, or you can decide which side you want to be crossed over which side. So I left it. And then what I did want to tell you, I did put the template on my website. If you do want to snag it from me, you are more than welcome. And if not, then you can use this technique, this idea with any template really, but this is just the one that I'm using for this, and this is the idea that I had. So I didn't cut it very well with the vinyl and the transfer paper on there, so I am having to trim it off a little bit with my X-Acto knife. So I'm just following those lines and just making sure that they are coming off nicely. So I'm going to remove this first V section, and then I am going to take it outside and give it a quick coat of spray paint. Putting that transfer tape on helps this so that you don't have to tape off anything. So I gave it a coordinating coat of paint. I just used a burgundy and a gold. And because I wanted to move on quickly for this, I'm actually going to apply my glitter with UV resin. My favorite is Counterculture DIY's UV resin. So I just applied that to the open area, and then I'm going to go in and give it a burgundy and gold ombre on this open section, and I'm going to do the bottom in gold as well. And I just, like all my other ombres, I'm just going light at first and building up that ombre. Even though it's just this tiny little section, I still approach and attempt all my ombres with the same idea. So I start out slow and then I just build up on those. I know you've seen me do ombres a few times, so I hope that I am not getting repetitive or boring you, but I just go back and forth, because my mindset is that you can always add more, but you can't take away. And if you go in really heavy-handed at first, it gives it a really good coverage, so it doesn't allow for that other color to blend into that side. So that's why I just go back and forth, light-handed. With each pass, I get a little bit heavier. And then after I was done with this golden burgundy ombre, I did take it outside and let it cure for a few minutes. I didn't set it outside for a super long time. I wanted to just not really fully set it, because I still do have to remove that transfer tape, so I didn't want it to get really too set in there yet. So I set it lightly, but enough that I knew the glitter wasn't going to move anywhere. And then we are going to remove that second V section. First the transfer tape came off, but then I'm going to go in and remove that vinyl section as well. And then I'm going to do the same thing, but this time I needed to cover up the raw glitter that we had already so that we could spray paint the open section. So I took off this vinyl, and then I did take a thick, not thick, but like a wide painter's tape, and I just covered all of the raw glitter. That way I could take it outside, spray paint it really quickly, and then remove it, and it would all be safe from spray paint. This time, since the gold was on the bottom last time, I did the gold on top this time and the green on the bottom. And I was really careful where I got really close to the glitter here when I applied that UV resin to knock it. I tried really hard not to get it into any of the glitter section. Remember, we still do have that covered transfer tape on the vinyl, so I was still careful on that side, but not as careful. But I really tried to just use my finger to rub it right up against that edge of the glitter. And then I'm going to repeat the same process with the green and gold, not vinyl, green and gold glitter. The green is a little bit chunkier than the other glitters, so what I did was, after I applied that, I found a dark green that I had from NMO. It is called Warrior, and I thought it would be the perfect balance to bring in some dark greens, because this vinyl had a lot of that really dark green in it, and I love the way it just kind of mixed it all together, and it was a good blend. So after that, I went back in with the gold, and again, we're just going to go back and forth. And I didn't really, okay, so on the green section, I tried to miss that overlap section, but when I did the gold, I was fine with adding it, since there was a lot of gold in there anyways. Even though that cross section, the UV resin is dry already, I figured, just to be on the safe side, I'd try not to get too much of that green in there. So I'm just going to go in and add a little bit more of that Warrior glitter, and then go back and forth. And then I did want to mention that this kind of happened randomly, last minute, just very, very recently, but I do now have a discount code with NMO, so you can use it on her Nicole Merritt Originals website. or the vinyl website. So I'll leave all of that information down on the bottom for you in the description box, but my discount code for her is Nicole10, and you will save 10% on all of your purchases. So after I was happy with all of the glitter blending, I am going to remove all of that transfer tape because now we are going to go take it outside in this hot sun and set all of that UV resin. So I set it outside probably 15-20 minutes. You don't have to leave it that long, but I got started doing something else, so it sat out there for about 20 minutes. And then I gave it a really good coat of Rust-Oleum's clear glossy spray paint, and then I added a coat of epoxy. While that was drying and curing, we are going to work on our decal portion. So I wanted to add something, but I didn't want to take away from all of the pretty lines and all of that beautiful glitter. So what I decided is I was going to make this blessed word fit inside that open triangle where the vinyl was. So this is just how my brain computed how to do this. I know there's other ways, but like I've told you before, sometimes my brain processes things not the easiest way. So this is how my brain computed that this would be the best way to do this. So I figured out the size of the diamond in the middle. I just took the template, copied it, flipped it so that I had that open diamond, and then I created a diamond in there and moved it to the side. I typed out the word blessed, and then I lined it up. I ungrouped all the letters, and then individually I sized them to where they were just at the size or the height of that diamond, and then I cropped it, and it cropped each letter to be inside that diamond. So then when I cut it, it was already sized for the diamond. I hope that made sense, because in my mind it makes sense, but I don't know if I'm explaining it very well. If you have any questions, feel free to ask down in the question box, and I will help you and answer anything you have. So then I cut that out of my Tech Rep Craft textured gold vinyl. I think this one is called Champagne. And I'm just going to apply that right to that center diamond. I did give the tumbler a good little sand after its coat of epoxy. I only gave it one coat. It was a pretty decent, not heavy, but decent size or thickness amount of epoxy, and I gave it a good coat. It was a little rough in spots, but not enough that it was going to matter where I was placing any of this vinyl, so I figured it was safe to move on to this step. So I am very carefully and not so gracefully applying those vinyl letters, and then I'm going to add some gold vinyl striping to all of the stripes. I'm not going to bore you and make you watch me stripe out all of the stripes, because I know I've shown several times me striping and I know you have seen it before. So I just went through and striped out all of the stripes and then trimmed everything off. The only thing I didn't do was the bottom rim. I'm going to do that very last. But then I was looking at it and I decided I felt like it needed something a little bit more. I love the way it looked, but to me, the blessed word just didn't stand out as much as I wanted it to. So I went to my stash of vinyl and I was looking for like a light pink to kind of bring out the light pink tones in those flowers. And I found this really pretty, like rosy pink color. I think it's a Hobby Lobby brand, and I thought it was perfect because it wasn't overpowering. At first I was going to add burgundy, but I didn't really have the right shade of burgundy. But then when I came across this light pink, and when I was thinking light pink might be better, I found this rosy pink and it was perfect. So what I did was, because I had not planned for that, I went in where my blessed word was and I created, instead of an offset, I created an inset, and it just is the same concept, but it creates the inside set instead of being on the outside. And I cut that out of that rosy pink vinyl and applied it to the blessed word. And because it was a textured, some of it was having a hard time like really sticking down, but I just gave it a good extra little rub and it was fine. So I applied all of that to the blessed letters, and then I also cut a really thin line to go inside the center of all the striping lines as well. After I had all of those pink striping lines added, I then went to the bottom and added a gold line around the rim and then a pink line in the center of that as well. And then after that, I gave it 2 final coats of epoxy using my Counterculture DIY's medium viscosity, and it gives it such a beautiful shine. And then this beauty was all done. As usual, I hope that I have inspired you in one way or another, and I will leave all of the information where to find me and all the products that I use down in the description box. There's also some discount codes down there, and this beauty will be available on my website if you want to snag it. And that is it for today. I thank you all so much for being here and continuing to come back even when I do things the hard way or I continue to ramble and ramble. But I will be back next week with another tutorial. I am also preparing for another series coming next month, so stay tuned for that. Give me a follow, hit that bell notification so you're always notified when I upload a new video. And that's it. I hope y'all are having a wonderful start to your summer. My kids are home. They're older, they're teenagers, but they are still quite distracting being home. I don't know. I thought that was only when they were babies. But anyways, I'm enjoying having them home for the summer. So that is it. I will see y'all next week. And I hope you have a good rest of your week. Bye, y'all.